All right, another preliminary report came out this week, and unfortunately, it's the same person involved as the previous one we just covered, except this one is...
He is now the pilot, right?
Yes.
PIC.
He was the PIC in this one, Granite Falls, Minnesota. He was going to Oshkosh, July 21st, 1728, and an L-39, November 339, Lima. Substantially damaged during an accident in Granite Falls, Minnesota. This is, I mean, it's, I don't know if you've read it, but it's very tough to read because it's like everything went wrong here. Sustained serious injuries after ejecting. The pilot receiving instruction did not eject and was fatally injured. He was doing a FAM flight. The guy in the back was basically trying to decide if he wanted to buy one. So they were, the backseat guy had a type rating in an SF-50, but he had no previous experience in the L-39 before the day. So this was his first flight in an L-39. They did flight instruction of an hour, ground instruction, the pilot receiving instruction during which to discuss the limitations of the seat. VS1 BRI ground instruction was conducted. Pilot receiving instructions residence, not in the airplane. On July 21st, he provided 2 to 3 hours of additional ground instruction to the pilot receiving instruction during which they discussed the positive and negative aspects of owning an experimental warbird aircraft. Additionally, they discussed flight planning, operations, oxygen, weather, etc. He intended to provide flight instruction during the flight 3 legs to reposition the aircraft from Alpine, Wyoming to Oshkosh, where they would attend the EAA event. He was PIC sitting in the front seat, and the other guy was in the back seat since he was unfamiliar. They did the first 2 legs uneventfully. The third leg from ATY to Oshkosh noted that he followed an IFR flight plan to Fond du Lac County Airport in Wisconsin, but intended to cancel and proceed under VFR to Oshkosh via the published warbird arrival procedures. EAA AirVenture. They were on initial climb out, runway 12, eastbound 270, 103%, 280 knots true, climb through flight level 200. They started getting a smell, and they were basically putting oxygen masks on, followed by smoke intrusion in the cockpit. So not a good scenario. Audible metal to metal grinding noise. He depressurized the plane, which resolved the odor issue. Smoke dissipated, began decelerating, best glide. Located the nearest airport using the airplane's Garmin. He tried to restart because the engine went out, and after 3 attempts, he decided it was going to be a forced landing, and he pointed towards an airport where a forced landing could be complete. He entered a descent from 21,000 and told the air traffic controller that he had an engine failure, acknowledged, descended to 10,000 feet, and then he gave him Granite Falls, 1 o'clock, 20 miles, and then MVE, 10 o'clock, 15 miles. He was told to change frequencies. He established controls with different controllers, reiterated the airplane had an engine failure, heading direct to GDB for an emergency landing. After brief discussion, told the controller that he intended to fly a visual approach to GDB. He said it was at 12 o'clock, 10 miles, asked the instructor to report when the airport was in sight, cleared to direct to GDB to descend to 3,000 feet. Airplane descended below 12.5 and it continued southeast toward GDB. Flight instructor told the controller they were going to actually go to Southwest Minnesota Regional Airport, Marshall, Minnesota. Cleared the flight to MML and descend to 3,000. However, told the controller that they couldn't reach MML and would land at GDB instead. Controller then cleared the flight direct GDB. In an interview, the flight instructor stated that it was because the ground speed decreased and he decided to go back the other way. Based on the track data, it continued a right descending turn over GDB as depicted. Crossed GDB at 3,000, and the weather was undercast, 1,200 feet AGL, broken ceiling at the time of the accident. Descended below 1,200, right roll increase and a turn toward runway 15. When they interviewed the accident, he stated that he saw the yellow chevrons depicting the overrun for the runway and turned the airplane to head directly at the end of the pavement. So I guess he's using just the, what he saw of the runway. He extended the landing gear during the right descending turn toward the runway. However, he determined that the airplane would not reach it and told the pilot receiving instruction to prepare to eject. He said, okay. The flight instructor stated he brought the airplane into a wings level attitude, reduced the descent rate before he told the pilot receiving instruction to eject. When he did not hear the rear seat eject, the flight instructor again told the pilot receiving instruction using his first name this time to eject. Flight instructor did not hear the rear seat eject from the airplane. According to the instructor, the airplane was nearing the bottom of the envelope and heading toward a power line. He said eject for a 3rd time before he activated his own seat. Front seat was ejected from the airplane, and the instructor descended under an open canopy. Non-life-threatening serious injuries. That's what it looked like, which is Based on the wreckage, the airplane's vertical stabilizer, 821 feet short of the runway overrun. God. They found some strong jet A fuel, residual fuel, heavy damage. They found the rear occupant still in the seat and unused firing mechanism components. And then they had to call in the bomb squad from the 148th at Duluth. And then they looked at the engine, and they're going to obviously take a look at what happened and what caused that. So, Gonky MACE.
So maybe I missed it, but did the aft seat not fire, or did he not attempt to eject?
We don't know.
Nobody knows. Oh man, that's horrible. Well, yeah. I mean, this one's tough, man. I mean, you lose an engine in a single engine airplane like that, and Mover, wasn't weather also an issue? Like
1,200 broken undercast.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I'm digging back in my memory, but in T-45s you practice engine out stuff, but you could see the runway, right? When it's with that kind of weather, I mean, really your best bet is to eject. And I just I'm scratching my head wondering why the back seat didn't go, because that's going to weigh on his mind. It weighs on my mind. It weighs on my mind now. Like, gosh, man, why didn't he just pull the handle? So I don't know. Mace, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we would occasionally do an IMC SFO or FO in the sim just to see, like with our avionics, if you could do it. And it was really challenging in a sim when your adrenaline's not going. You're just like, oh, this isn't part of your check ride profile because this is a shitty situation. Let's just see if you can do it. And we had like rules of thumb, you lose this much when you turn and all that kind of stuff. And it was still very difficult to break out and actually either not make the runway or you'd be too fast. Like It was really tough to break out and be on speed. I think the tricky path that they found themselves on is that they could see the runway for a little bit there with the weather. So the weather makes it super hard to get on the correct profile to make it ideal. But then when you see the overrun and you're like, these numbers check, then you keep trundling along, and the engine was seized. Like they tried to spin it in the investigation and it didn't turn. So you got that extra drag with that. Then you drop the gear and all of a sudden the end of the runway starts to get higher in the windscreen, and you're like, shit, I'm not going to make it. And I mean, luckily they were in the ejection envelope, but why didn't the backseater go?
Yeah.
And the difference, we did this in the T6, but in the F-16, we had a HUD.
Yes.
And, 17 degrees nose low, you drop the land. Like you had all kind of HUD gouge that helped you with a flight path marker and everything. When you're talking an L-39, when you've got Garmin avionics and who knows, or if whatever it had, it's not. And I would go back to proficiency like we talked about with the last one. In the F-16, you did an SFO almost every time. I mean, when you had the gas, you'd come back, you'd beat up the pattern, you'd go straight in, high key or whatever. I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine just as a baseline, because gas is expensive and it's not their jets, and it's people like the amount of practice you get as a baseline in Dave VMC is not what you get in the military. And then to add weather to that makes it holy crap. Like I can't imagine. Like this is it's an unwinnable situation.
Yep.
As soon as you added weather to it, it became an unwinnable situation. Like you're almost better off just going, you know what, we're going to do a controlled ejection at 2,000 feet. Because it's that crappy, like you talked about, Mace, it's that crappy of a scenario. The fact that he almost made it, I mean, that's impressive to me. But then would the backseater have survived? I mean, what happened there? Will we ever know? I don't know. Like, how do you even figure that out?
Yeah. Plus, man, he's cross country, right? I mean, you're just cruising along, and then all of a sudden, I mean, you're trying to get help from ATC, and like, you're right. I mean, it's just a very, very challenging situation.
I wonder if, and they don't talk about it in this, but I wonder if ATC had SA of that. Like, right, was everywhere undercast, or could ATC have come back and go, okay, here's the weather here, because they'll do that. I know they'll do that. They'll help you out and become almost a book reader going, hey, VFR sky clear at this place, it's undercast, broken. They'll give you the weather reports at some places. I wonder if that was ever a consideration in that, because it doesn't say they did that.
No.
I'm wondering if any place would have been a suitable alternate.
Sounds like they really only had those two options. I mean, they're in rural Minnesota, like Granite Falls, right? Like that's a tiny town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there were a lot of options. And maybe the better runway, they turned into a headwind, I think, and we're like, nope, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, that's the big question in my mind. That whole thing is saying, what happened?
Of course.
With the backseater?
Yeah, it's terrible.